Welcome, everybody, to today's Lunch and Learn. I'll be your host, Jared. And if you have any questions, feel free to come up and let me know. Raise your hand. I will set you off on mute, and then you can talk and share your thoughts and ask your question. Before you begin, we have a couple of cool things that I want to make sure you're aware of. We have a lot of cool things happening this coming week. We have a special guest on Thursday, Eric Welmering. He's going to talk about the new deployment server inside of Decisions. So if you're ever wondering what those new features will be, just come on in on Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Eric will talk to you about the future of the deployment server. I've gotten to see a sneak peek of it, and it looks really cool. So definitely bookmark that, share that, let everyone know that we'll have that on Thursday. The other good thing to look at is we also have the Solutions Marketplace. That allows you to, it's the apps.market decisions. I think it's marketplace.decisions.com. If I can find it, decisions.com. It's somewhere. No, that's not a, oh, because I didn't spell marketplace. Marketplace. I could also, hey, look at that. I remembered. Haha. We also have the marketplace, which shows you all of the different accelerators that we have. Our solutions team is very diligent in creating new projects and new things. So feel free to come and take a look and see what you can use if you're wondering how you can leverage them in your own business process. That's also a good resource. The other thing that's also super helpful is we also have a decisions YouTube channel called Decisions Training. What we try to do is we try to post every Friday of any new features that we have or some cool things that you can do inside of Decisions. So just feel free to come on in here, like, comment, subscribe. It helps us out. And also, please, if you have any suggestions of what you think would be a great YouTube video, just email training@decisions.com. We'll put that in a backlog and we'll start working on it. So we always want to know what you guys want to watch on our channel and what you have questions about. Alrighty, so that's that. That's all the announcements that we have right now. So thank you for letting me get done with that little splurge right there. Anyone have any comments or questions today? Feel free to raise your hand and you'll come off mute and I'll be able to help you out. All right, Gregory Woods. Hey, Gregory, how's it going?
Hey Jared, how's it going?
It's going
I
good,
submitted
man.
a question when I registered. I'm not sure if you guys could see that. I was just wondering how to do like a, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
How to do like a basic flow to trigger a download to your local browser.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, we
Like
could
it could be
definitely.
just a basic CSV or a text file, something like that.
Sure, well, that's a great question. All right, so we're going to talk about how to do that. Anything special with it? Like, are you just a form that has a download button or something where someone
Is
integrates with
there any
something?
way to not have the form? How to just run the flow and it automatically triggers a download?
Sure. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I believe there is. Let me figure out. I'll have to mess
And I
around
also
with this.
have decisions 8.2, by the way.
Decisions 8.2. Okay, the features
Yeah.
that I'll be utilizing should still be the same
Okay.
for it. So I'll let you know if I'm using a version 9 specific feature, but I will demonstrate only the version 8 ways for it.
Sounds
Um,
good. Thank
mhm,
you.
Yep. Alrighty. So now let's go ahead and do this. We'll say this is downloading a document without without form. All right, and this is gonna be test downloading stuff. I know we had this question a while back. I remember I think we had someone who asked it, but let's demonstrate it again. So test downloading without form flow. All right, because now I know there is if I have let's say if I have a document, let me go ahead and set this up as file data. File, because this is the thing that I'm going to use to demonstrate. And we got file data right here. File data. That's what I want. File data. I'm going to save. I'm going to do this. All right, cool. We got it. I believe, let's say I'm going to save this, create entity by file reference. I think I need to call this load from file data. Load from file data. Welcome, everybody. I know we got a big crowd here. Welcome. What I'm working on right now is Gregory Woods asked a question about how do I download a document or a file without it needing to be, without utilizing the decisions form designer. So that's what I'm walking through right now. I'm gonna give it about, let's see, 10 minutes to do it. And then I'll go ahead and, if I can't figure it out, I'll just take it offline, Gregory, and I'll send you an export of what it is. But I think I'll be
Okay.
able to figure
Thank
it
you.
out. So let's do this. All right, so we're going to grab load from file data. Then after we load from file data, I need to get a call internal services step. What you would do in your version, Gregory, is you won't have this step. This is a version 9 specific thing. What you would have to do is you would go into like integration. There would be an internal services category, and you would have a list of categories. And I'll let you know the specific method once I confirm that this is actually
Okay.
how it would work. And we go to, let's say, create entity from file reference. That's what I want. Perfect. And then folder ID, I'm just going to utilize the current folder, whatever folder I'm in right now. Folder. Let's do, yeah, I just want default. Current folder, current user, foreign folder. Let's see. All right, let me just make another one. Oh no, what am I doing? Make it constant. I should do constant. Oh, perfect. And then we'll just do this one right here where this flow lives. And then the file reference is going to be from here, load data, put that in there. And then I'm gonna get this from here, we get the file. And then there is a specific download. I think it's a download from URL. Download from URL. Basically, the thing you're gonna have to leverage, I'm gonna pause a little bit and just let you know the logic behind it. So to do this, what we would have to do is download a document, is that anytime we store an entity inside, so let me just create this file real quick. Debug, yes, choose a file. I want my profiler, let's do that, profiler text. So any type of entity file right here, they all have this download file link or a URL that you could get. And so especially if you change this into a decisions document data type, that one also will have a document URL to it as well. So let me also store that just so you can see the difference between the two. So let's make this from a file. We're going to say this is document service. And I'm going to say let's add document. This is going to be file data right here. So we'll do build data, and then I'm going to pass in the file right here. Go to file, and we'll say the title is this is a my document test file. Boom, right here. Awesome, this is great. And so now I got my file here, and let's say this is going to be, I'm just going to leave it title right here. So now what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and change it to this one. And then I'm going to save this file here, and then we can talk about actually getting that information. Perfect. And then I debug this. I choose my file. We're going to do this one right here, and then we'll go ahead and run it. Boom, I got my document. So now you'll see I have my document, and this one will have a get document URL that you can reference. And so now what we can do, now that we have that URL, there's a couple of things that you can do here is you can say, all right, now I want to, there's a URL download. Let's see, URL download. Let me look at download. Let's see, download, that's all with FTP. That's my own flow. Let me go ahead and utilize this one right here. And instead of doing the document surface method add document, I want to do there's a let's get data by URL. Let's see, where is it? Get data URL, get document, and path. Let's try the get data URL step. I believe what we can do here is now I can get the get data URL. I can get the document ID, right? So whatever document and ID, oh, there's a host. I wonder if this is from I'm going to do the host will be, let's see, it's going to be my localhost primary. Let's see if it's that. I think it's going to be right here. And then let's say the document ID that I want is that document. I'm just going to do this manually, um, just cut and pasting just to see if it works. And then you can easily automate that process later. So I'm gonna go ahead, I actually don't need to upload a document, so I'm gonna skip this. We're gonna go right here and attach it. And once we do that, we're gonna debug and I can just run it. All right, I got an exception. What is that exception? It says input string host was not in the correct format. Okay, so it looks like my host is in the wrong format. So let me not do primary. Let me just do that port number right there. Let's see. Same one. HTTP is not in. All right, cool. So then let me do this. I'm going to do just a local host. And I'm going to do 8083 for that. So that's my local port number. Let's see if that runs it. Boom. Okay, that's all it was. So then what you can see here is now I have the output of that information, and so it sends it over that session. Okay, cool. So now the question is, what happens if I just run this? Right. That's going to be the next question. So I'm going to save this, and let's see. There's got to be a URL because now what that does is it gets that URL here, and then it's get document data URL. So I don't think it actually downloads it if I run it, but let's see. You just run it. Okay, so that did output it, but it didn't run it. I didn't think it would because I think. So let's go ahead and let's say download, call URL. There's a specific one. I think it's like the download endform session. I think it's that one. This is also a step that you would have inside of your system. So let's say I want to end this, but I actually want to, instead of display a message, I want to open a URL. Open a new window, sure. And I'm going to do flow data, and we're going to get the document URL output. So now I'm curious if this will actually download the document for me or what will happen. So if I run this, let's go ahead and run it. Boom, there we go. So as you can see here, that automatically downloads that document for me. So what I did here is I can create this flow probably in version 8 and I can export it to you, Gregory, so you have it.
Okay.
But essentially all you have to do is you'd have to get this step in the document data.url. And so you would have to make sure that you have this file as a document or to utilize this feature. Because then you can utilize the document URL capability in decisions, and then you can get that document there. Now you can also you don't have to do it this way. There's other ways that you can do it. Do you know where your file is? Let's start off with that.
It would be created in the beginning of the flow.
Created in the beginning of the flow? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because then you can totally grab it from that area that way, and then you could say, hey, let's just get this from the document URL. Decisions also, you might be able to fetch it from the decisions local system, meaning because we have a storage policy, let me show you this thing. Because we have a storage policy of always, there is a specific location. I always forget it, but that's why we have a YouTube channel. I think we have not you, Gregory, but internal Gregory, Decisions Gregory. He created a great video over how to get the file file storage association, file data and file references and decisions. This will be helpful. Let me put this in the chat so you can see it. And then you can also have this as a reference. So that is also a great one there. There's another one for it.
I think file storage policy is the other one.
Thank you. I knew it was there. File storage policy. Basically, just talks to you about like if you want to navigate. I think it's the step-by-step directory steps. If you can find that, Gregory at decisions.com, that'd be
Taking a look.
awesome. But anyway, there's a video for that. And what that allows you to do is inside of decisions, let me kind of walk you through that here. It's in the your drive, it's in your program files, decisions, decision server, and I always forget this. It's not decision server. I messed it up, didn't I? File storage, primary. Then what you can see here, I think it's in flow data. Then depending on the ID of the flow, you can find, it's like you have to go through the first two versions of it, and you can see that the data is actually inside of this flow right here. And what you could do is you can do use one of the file directory steps to pull it that way. If, for example, you don't want to add a document URL or make it as a document because you don't want to bloat the system, right? And maybe it's only temporary that you'll do this for. So that is an option there that you can then find that text document here, and then get that information there. So you have both options available. So, did that answer your question, Gregory?
Yeah, it sounds good. Is this going to be available? How soon do you think are these available for recording? You're recording this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be posting this to YouTube probably an hour after when we do the lunch and learn. But I'll create you that example shortly after the lunch and learn, so you at least have something to kind of play around with, and you're not just kind of waiting around for an upload.
Sounds good, Jared. I appreciate the help.
Yeah, my
Thanks,
pleasure.
man.
Anytime. Alrighty. Any other questions? Let's see. I think we got another hand raised. All right. All right, VT. How can I help you? Oops.
Hey, Jared.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Go ahead and unmute. There you go. I clicked the wrong button. I'm sorry, VT.
Hey,
I meant to click another button.
I just wanted to add that this enforcement session, because it's running on the server, it will save the file on the server. So if the question was that if somebody else is running that flow, it will not save the file on their system. It will save it where this is installed.
Got it. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right, Chetan. Go ahead, Chetan.
Uh, I have a question, but not related to this example. I have a other query.
Sure.
I'm using an we have a requirement where we receive emails from client.
Okay.
So we are using the get header step and the get email step. So via O authentication token. So
Mm-hmm.
when we are creating the OAuth token, the token is getting created, but we are not able to receive the emails. And we have different environments like in Dave, we are able to receive emails, but we are getting issues in QA environment.
Okay, so let me try to summarize that. So you're saying you're getting an OAuth issue when you're trying to connect to an email client for the get header step.
Yes,
What version of decisions are you running?
it's 8 decisions.
Okay, you're running decisions 8. All right. I'm just gonna utilize the same. All right, so if you're running decision 8 and you're utilizing the get header step, let me create a new
8.18.
create new flow, get headers. What's the error code on the get header step?
So is he saying that let me run again. Is saying user is authenticated but not connected and bad,
User is authenticated
but not connected.
but not connected. So okay, and you're using the OAuth token. I see that there. Okay, so it sounds like your OAuth token worked
Yes.
with that. So it connected. Do you know? Is there is there any way you can could you paste like the summary of the code in the chat, or can you email it to me? Let me put my email in the chat, and I won't show it on the screen. Just so I just want to see it in my email.
So
Where is my chat?
what would you like?
So if you can, so I'm putting my email in the chat, jared@decisions.com. Could you just email me, like run the flow and get the error and just copy that error code? So you know how like
The error
yeah,
code. Okay.
exactly. When decisions errors like this and you can do show details, just copy all of this. I'm just curious uh what that error says.
Okay.
And as you're emailing that, because what's going on in my mind is if it connected and there's no auth error, meaning like the token wasn't bad, it didn't say bad token, it didn't say that it was unable to connect, then or unable to authenticate with that specific way. It sounds like that there is probably something that is what do you call it? Like I don't know if there's a firewall or some type of port that needs to be open to allow that communication, But that's what it
Mhm.
sounds like to me, that it says, hey, you got through, but you know, there's something that you're not able to access. Or maybe the scoping on that integration could be the thing.
Okay, just sending you the email.
Perfect. And I'll look at it off screen, so nothing will be displayed online.
I've just sent you an email.
Perfect. I'm opening it up. Come on now, internet. Don't fail now. All right, let me go to my inbox. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna refresh. There we go. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so see how it says so in your error code it says regex.net.imap exception. So what this is saying is that there is an issue on the authentication on your SMTP server side, because it's saying user authorized not connected, and then it's regex.net. So are you able to connect with your ops team to see what account decisions is utilizing to talk to your SMTP server, and see if that is valid in the SMTP and on the email server side, because that's what this error code's telling me.
Okay. So just can you summarize it again?
Yeah. So this I'll put it. I'm not gonna put the error code on the screen, but let me just summarize. Anytime that there is in your error code, you have this, right? You have regex.net.imap exception, right? Anytime you see this in our logs, that means there's an error that happened on the system that Decisions was trying to use. Meaning that there's nothing in Decisions you've configured incorrectly. It's saying that there's something in that other system that you would have to meet with your internal IT ops team and talk about. If your error code ended in Decisions framework, right? Decisions.framework, right? As you can see in that log.design.flow, and then it'll have a bunch of other things after that. What this means is this is an internal decisions issue, right? Internal decisions. So what this reads to me is that it started off that's saying that Decisions can't run this get header step, right? User authenticated, but not connected. That's a bad user. And then it goes with hey, here's the regex, that now these are IMAP issues here that it's struggling to connect to. And so then that would lead the troubleshooting steps to say, hey, we need to verify the user account Decisions is using to talk to SMTP server, right? So that would be the SMTP server. So that would be the step one, and verify would mean that you would is user account enabled? Does the is the right enabled? Does the SMTP server see it as a valid user? And then I think the final thing to check is are the appropriate scopes supplied in OAuth token, right? So the only one that's really a somewhat of a decisions thing is this one, meaning that to check the scopes of your OAuth token, you'd have to go to your token and see what the scopes you supplied it. It could be that you don't have enough scopes applied for it, because scopes in the OAuth world is just permissioning. And so that could be the issue here. So I'm going to send you a response back to your email off screen, and that would be the thing that I would check. I would say talk with your IT ops team, and then you can get on a call with a Decisions rep, on our side, on the support team, and they'll walk you through something similar that I showed here and say, hey, this is probably what we need to check, but you would have to get a decision support person and also your IT ops team on a call together, and so if there's issues on the server side, you can fix that on your end, and then if there's a decisions connection thing, we can handle that part. So that would be the next steps on what to do, and I just emailed you what you see on the screen right here.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. All righty. Oops. Any other questions you have, Chetan?
No, that's it for mine. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do is we got another one. Okay, Mano Mensor. All right. Hello. Is there a possibility in decisions to bring data from external database and write an SQL script to save that data into the decisions data structure? This also includes attachments. The answer is possible, most likely, but there's probably some more germane specificity that I'll need to know. So Manal, I have given you permission to talk. Could you give us more context to what you're trying to do?
Hey, Jared. So we just have a big SQL data structure, which is like
Okay.
external app. It's called well, yeah, it's SQL, but it's third party app. They also have a
Okay.
bunch of tables, and we're just trying to get the data from them and populate on our form. And I know the one way we can do it is write either a SQL script or some way to import the data. But the
Mhm.
SQL script sounds the best because it has about over like 360 fields. I was just
Mm.
wondering if that's even a possibility, or do you even recommend that's a good thing to do for decisions to bring that much data? And they do about like 12,000 forms a year.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. This is a really good question. So you said about 3,000 forms a year, and you have 56 properties
So
in that.
they do 12,000 forms a year about,
Okay.
and then they said like some of the forms can sit into decisions. For example, it's like multiple tasks gets assigned, and the task can sit up to 3 years for
Mm-hmm.
one person to fill it out. So it's kind of a bunch of data coming in, and I just want to know before we even like start on this big project, can decisions is it a good thing for decisions to do? Like, do you recommend that bringing external data, because it could be it's like a bunch of data that we'll have to bring it every day. We'll load in decisions on a job.
I see. So the thing that I don't recommend if you have the data externally, I don't recommend adding an extra step to have the data externally, then load all that data internally, and then use that data, because that's going to give you extra load. Are
Okay.
you talking about that you want to you're going to decommission the external data and then store it all in decisions, or would you have both in both places?
Oh, decommission. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
hmm
So the question there is yes, decisions can handle that. So if you want to say, hey, let's migrate all of the external data we have here and let's push it to decisions.
hmm
Decisions can definitely handle that. Naturally, there would be a migration process, right? Where you'd have to say, okay, let's identify all the properties, let's identify all those things, and then you can, move it into a decisions for that. So, and you can store, and I think you're talking about this also includes attachments. You can definitely store attachments inside of decisions utilizing our different file storage tables that we have. Um, we can definitely we can definitely handle that load. We just have to make sure that we design the flows in a specific way, like I'd recommend, and utilizing maybe some type of cache. Like maybe there's some processes you can only need to fetch a certain parts of the data, then put it in like a time cache in decisions where a process will just store it in a cache, fetch it, and if it fails, then it can get the data back again. That could be one thing. But yes, decisions can handle that. My question to you is, what's been the difficulty of your current setup that made you wonder if decisions can handle
Well,
having the data decisions better?
because we do have, this would be the biggest form we would ever have in decisions. Like we have an app project which has about 3,000 records, and sometimes it does take some time to load.
Okay.
And that's why we were kind of wondering, like, this would be the most biggest project if we would have in decisions and bringing all that data from external. And usually what we do is we send the data from decisions to someone else. Like
Okay.
but we have never did it where it's coming from external and we're saving it into decisions or loading into decisions. So that's why we were just wondering that how does that work?
I see. I gotcha.
Mhm.
What I would recommend then because it's kind of like there's you could definitely migrate the data and decisions and put it in there. That's not a problem. And you can work with our support team and even some of the trainers, and we can discuss what are the best design ways to make that performant. But what I would suggest that you guys try first is there are several different performance features that you can utilize, like things like maybe indexing on the tables if you're fetching it, seeing in your process if you're fetching the data once and just utilizing that data, implementing caches when need be. If you do those things should be able to help with that performance of parts of the process. and make that, and could potentially make that better. We'd have to test it, of course, but
Mhm.
as a first test to say, hey, do we really need to migrate all that data? Because migrating data from any system is always a pain. So it's always like, let's have that as like the last resort.
Mhm.
Before going to that one, let's make sure we try other things. So to talk a little bit about that, one of the things you can do, and you're in version 8, right? Or you're in version 9?
Yes. Mhm.
Version 8?
Version 8
Okay.
point. Yes, 8.22.
Perfect. All right. So in version 8, you would find the uh, let's see, administration, system tools, and in the, I think it's in Profiler right here, where you can run different Profiler sessions. Are you has anyone introduced the Profiler to you? Are you familiar with it?
Not that much.
Okay, cool,
So-
cool. So with the Profiler, what this allows you to do is it basically allows us to say like, hey, I've identified some slowness on the system. I really want to know
Mhm.
what's slow, right? The first thing to do, just like in Task Manager in Windows, and I forgot what the Mac OS equivalent is, but they both have some type of task managing where you can say, hey, Word's crashing, or hey, my Evernote.exe is consuming X amount of resources, right? Decisions has something similar to a task manager, but ours is called, if you go to Administration, System Tools, and Event Viewer, what we have is the system activity. And what the system activity allows you to do is it allows you to know, hey, what's running on the system now? So you're running your process, right? You're fetching data from an external database and you're doing a lot of this stuff. When you run your process, right? And you get reports from end users saying, hey, this thing's slow. What do I need to do to make it faster? Well, to see what's going on, you can go to the system activity. And what this shows us is it says, hey, how busy the system is. And so it could be that, hey, you have a lot of flow starts, flow step runs, rule executions, threads jobs, and API calls, right? You could ignore every other column. They're not really used for determining how busy the system is. It's pretty much just flow starts, step runs, rule executions, thread jobs, and API calls. But if this is abnormally large, you could say, that's interesting. Okay, there's definitely some busyness happening on the system. And then what we would do next after that is we can say, okay, well, how do I then identify who's the culprit in the slowness, right? Because that's the ultimate question we want to answer. Then in that scenario, that's when you utilize the profiler. You would start a whole new profile session, run your process, let the profile capture some data, and then what you will see is you'll get to see a process like this, right? This is an old profiler, uh, uh, you know, um, test that I did earlier today, and what I did is I had a slow process, and I said, hey, I wanted to know what's being slow in my process. And so when I ran this, it's a lot of different data. I'll try to summarize it because we can talk offline. I can give you an hour class on it where we can dive deep into it. But just as an overview for the sake of the call, basically what it does is it helps you identify, hey, in this particular flow, I was troubleshooting my import flow. I have a process that runs, and if I scroll all the way down, I have a process. I think it's right. I have this where is it? I had it before and it just left me. Da, 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 da. We're going to choose the one up above here. So I have this import run flows for list flow, and I can see that the total time it ran, it took 35,000 milliseconds. But if it had nothing inside of it to run, it would run only 55 or 555 milliseconds. So a big difference. That's what the whole point of this is. You want to identify what is the big difference here, and then drill down into it. And you can see here that my normalized step took 31,000 milliseconds, and without children, it took 31,000 milliseconds. So it looks like this step right here can possibly be the culprit, where I need to take a look at this normalized step and see if I can modify it or make it faster. So that's one area to take a look at. The other one could be like, hey, this selective update step for the DVO process. This one takes 2,000 milliseconds. But if it didn't run without any children, it would run 149 milliseconds. So this tells, hey, maybe there's a better way I can save data. Maybe instead of looping through, right, I know this flow because I built it. Instead of having a process that loops through every thousands of records and then saves individually, maybe I want to do a batch insert, or maybe I want to group those items together first and then do one call to the database, right? I mean, that could be what's causing the slowness on your end, because you have an external database and you're probably calling it pretty frequently. I don't know. I'm just surmising from from the scenario that was given. But that could be something that might help. So it could be modifying how things are saved, or to really confirm if it's taking a while, there is a keyword called took that if you go to your logs folder and you can say, hey, I want to look at this keyword called took. And what took does is it will display any type of step that took, no pun intended, over 1,000 milliseconds, so about over a second to run. And then you can easily see here that, hey, I have this, this delay step in a specific flow, and hey, this took, over 3,000 milliseconds. So that would be something that could help out your circumstance. It would even go to like different queries you run. So maybe you have an inefficient query, right? Maybe you're doing a lot of inner joins and you need to use a cross join to be more efficient, right? So that would be the first step I would do. And so what I'd recommend is two things. I would reach out to, do you know who your customer service representative is, or customer success manager? Sorry.
Is it gonna be Lindy?
It might be, because what I would say is, and
Mhm.
I'll send an email to Lindy and you after this, is
Gotcha.
let's schedule some time with
Mhm.
me or one of the trainers, and we'll teach you a deep dive on performance troubleshooting,
Okay.
so that you have the knowledge you need. And then second onto that, I would also schedule a call with a support technician to help
Mhm.
you then troubleshoot that. And so I'll suggest those things to Lindy, and we'll get that coordinated so that you can help you and your staff determine whether we should migrate all the decisions, or hey, let's first do these fixes and let's see if that
Mhm.
helps, and then decide after that fact.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That would be great. Also, one
Mhm.
random question. So this
Please.
form also has like a bunch of data which repeats. For example, they have called anomalies, and sometimes they can have up to 100 anomalies, right?
Mhm.
And what I was thinking to do was a data repeater because you could just add as many you want. But do you recommend, so in what they have is like they have 18 fields on a data repeater that comes from the external database, and the user only fills out like 10 of them. I
Mhm.
Do you recommend for a data repeater to auto-populate fields? I have not usually seen where a lot of data
Mm.
gets auto-populated on a data repeater, or do you recommend something else?
I think that should work. Data repeaters can do that. You can, auto
Mm-hmm.
populate where you could say, hey, get these data from, this object, and then you add it into the list. From the data repeater perspective, it's just a list control that can
Mm-hmm.
list, different objects. So if you have like 3 that you want to auto populate, you can
Mm-hmm.
simply use like the add item to list or add items to list if you want to add multiple, and then populate that in the data repeater, and then just use the join arrays
Okay.
on that kind of data repeater control. That would kind of get you, that would pre-populate for you. So I don't see anything
Mm-hmm.
abnormal with that. So our discussion, I think it'd be fine to go ahead and test it and see if it helps.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. This helps a lot. Thank you so much.
Good. My pleasure. And I'll work on sending that email to you after the call.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Could you also post your email in the chat? I'm pretty sure we have it, but I just want to make sure that
Yeah,
it's the same.
I got you. I'll send it.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Mhm.
Of course.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Into that one, into that one. Okay, what else? How else? Any other questions that we have from the attendees here? All right. I don't see any other questions. Probably give us a couple more minutes to see if anyone has a question. If not, we'll just end a little bit early so we can get some of those deliverables to those who've asked questions. But in the meantime, Gregory, anything new we should talk about for the people here?
Still waiting on some of the 9.12 updates, but I should have a little bit more next week. I think we have I don't think we've shown off the parquet steps in 9.11, if that's what we're on.
Oh, okay. Could you show that? Because I don't think I don't think I'm on 9/11.
Yes, I can. Let me pull it
That'd be
up. Give me
great.
just a moment.
'Cause I think that would be a fun treat for everybody.
Yeah, I know some people here I've talked about with, but I don't think everyone. Oh, we have another Q&A. What was that? Oh, that's email. We're
That's just
good.
the
We're
email.
good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm pulling it up. Where'd it go? Takes just a moment to get this running. And here's our parquet stuff. Perfect. All right. All right. So in Decisions version 9.11, we've added a few new features, one of which are ways to handle parquet files in Decisions. So let me share my screen so y'all can see this. For those of you who are not aware of what a parquet file is, it is a file format that allows for organized data, such as kind of like a CSV or an Excel. Typically, the data is stored column-wise, going down instead of row-wise with each setting. For each data entry. However, the biggest takeaway from this is that Parquet is an extremely lightweight data transfer file format. So you can put a lot of information and not take up a lot of space in this particular way. So Decisions now allows you to utilize these in the platform in two separate steps, but I'm going to say three separate ways. All right. The first one is with the Parquet deserialize step. If you were to import a Parquet file, maybe from a file download, from a form, or from various other means, then you could select this as an option and deserialize that Parquet file information into a decisions object. So you now have all that information in a data structure in Decisions. The other step is its converse. You are now creating a Parquet file from a Decisions data type. So you select the data type, you select the properties that you want to include in the data type, and then the output is going to be a file reference right down here, Parquet file. I specify the input list that's going to actually map to this type, and then give it a name. So one thing to note, this is for file data. It takes it in. The output is in file reference. All right. So the third thing I want to talk about with this is how do we even get this type in the first place? I mean, you can create a type from scratch, but that could take a while, especially for a very lightweight file format that can have a lot of fields. The way that you would do that is by going to create data types and integration, go down to create types from Parquet, and now you can upload your template structure, give it a name, and it creates that file structure right here that you can utilize inside of the Decisions platform. So now you have access to a new type that matches the Parquet information that you're trying to utilize in your flow. So Decisions has these capabilities in its newest release version of Decisions 9.11. And I know some of y'all have seen this, but I thought I would show it off for those who have not. Okay. Well, I think with that being said, I don't see any further questions in the chat. So I think we are going to wrap this up now. Thank you all very much for attending. I'll be leading tomorrow's, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Have a good day. Oh, it just occurred to me I can't shut it off because you started it. Oh, wait, I can take it from you. Aha, now we're ending it.